And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this windy Tuesday, May 12th. 107 in the afternoon. Temperatures outside around 60 degrees across much of the area, but we have those winds gusting over 40 with wind advisories and red flag warnings in effect. So, again, a very windy afternoon. Obviously, no burning outdoors. It's been pretty dry lately, but there is rain in the forecast. I'll have more on that in a few minutes. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Good day to be inside, Bridgette.
I would say that the red flag warning is vitally important right now. As we look to the west, yesterday we saw some wild grass fires. All of them will be wild in that wind, by the way, out by Granora in the northwest corner of the state. If we're not careful, there could be more to come. I know that folks know better than to be lighting up ditches and sloughs right now, and that they're keeping water trucks handy, etc., if the need should arise. But we do have a lot of dry plant material on top of the ground yet, and that is just like tinder. And in all these winds, let's just be careful out there.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to spark something off, and we don't have much rain in the forecast until the weekend, and then things start to get a little wet around the area. Now, the areas that really need it the most, out in the central and western part of the state, especially the western part of the state, not going to see much over the next week to 10 days, but that'll be a little different in the central and eastern part of the state. Now, we're looking at partly cloudy skies out there right now, with temperatures in the low 60s, and we'll make it up into the upper 60s today with those winds gusting out of the northwest upwards in excess of 40 miles an hour. Now, the winds will relax as we head towards evening, and towards sunset, the winds will start to go light. And those light winds will allow us to bottom out in the low to mid-40s tonight. And then tomorrow, top 10 day. It is going to be a beautiful one with sunny skies, light northwest winds, and highs in the upper 70s. Then the wind machine cranks up out of the south on Thursday. We'll have wind gusts between 30 and 40 out of the south on Thursday, but highs mild at right around 80. Now, there will be a line of showers and thunder showers coming through late Thursday night. It's not going to add up too much, 1/10 of an inch or less. And then after that, more winds on Friday out of the northwest at about 25 to 40. And temperatures right around 70. We'll see a little break in the winds on Saturday with highs in the mid-70s. And then Sunday, we'll see clouds start to thicken up. We'll see scattered showers move in from the south and southwest. Maybe a few rumbles of thunder. And then it looks like we're seeing signs of a more widespread rain Sunday night into Monday. We'll see how that pans out. But our models are trending a little wetter on that Sunday-Monday time frame, which could give us an additional half inch to an inch of precip, which would be some much needed. And then looks like towards the end of the month, so after Memorial Day, it looks like we'll go into another wet period where we'll see numerous storms come through here. So the second half of this month will start to get a little wetter around here, and it looks like that'll last into the first week in June as well. So good news for areas that do need the precip, but the areas that need it the most out west, unfortunately, not going to see a whole lot over the next 10 days.
In recording a podcast this morning for the Agronomist Happy Hour, and we talked about that. You know, as you look towards that western North Dakota, they're certainly much further ahead of us. They're looking at temperatures into the 80s right now. Sidney, Montana was looking at a high of 88, Dickinson 84. And so we're certainly seeing they are much further ahead of us as far as farming is concerned. So far, they have pretty good emergence. I would say that they would like to see some rain, certainly to move the crop along, but also they're just tired. They need a break. They've been going for a while. On the flip side of that, Welker Farms out at Shelby, Montana, talked about the fact today that a lot of their cereal crop is laying in dry dirt. It's just not germinating or going anywhere. The most rain they've had in the last 10 months has been 2/10 of an inch. And they have really patchy germination where they did have some moisture out in that part of Montana, and they're north of Havre. So, you know, as we move west, that drought monitor is increasing. We know that we'll probably continue to see those increases throughout the next few weeks. And people can still contribute what they see to the drought monitor. A lot of times that drought monitor information is coming from county agents, but anyone in the public can actually send in their information. It's a little complicated, but it can be done. They ask you a ton of questions. But if you're curious how that process works, if you're curious about updates on planting progress, etc. Again, that's the Agronomist Happy Hour podcast. There is a new episode up this week, and then the one we recorded this morning will be up on Monday. So if you're in the tractor and you're looking for something to listen to, there's that one. There is the Rural Well, focusing on mental health resources for rural areas and farms, and then also the Nooner Chat, which also comes out every other week as well. And those are interviews live off of X, off of Twitter. So lots of things to choose from outside of the 1 to 2 o'clock hour for Weather and Ag in Focus.
Good deal. Now, how much out around the Havre area have they had, did you say, Bridgette? You said less than a tenth of an inch?
0.2 in 10 months.
Man. Yeah, and unfortunately, those areas just don't really, they're not targeted for any substantial precip anytime soon either.
Western Nebraska is running irrigators over the top, and this is really early for that type of thing to be happening. They want to see some germination, and in some cases, it's just a matter of trying to keep, more incidents from happening, right? Like wildfires and so forth. They're trying to be a little proactive with it.
Yeah.
If you are in an area where you have weather conditions you'd like to report, things you want to talk about, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line. That number is 701-293-9000. Nate Thorsrud, he's a farmer too, and if you want to talk to him about crop insurance and other things, you certainly can. Again, that's jlacropinsurance.com. Lighthouse Commodities is so kind to make sure that you can see us as well as hear us, and you can see us YouTube, Facebook, and Acres TV, and we thank them for the time they give us for that every week.
All right. Well, careful there, Bridgette.
Yeah, I hope that was muted. I tried. Okay.
And we had one of our guests rescheduled today, right? Max. So if you're listening to hear Max today, we'll have him on tomorrow, correct?
Yep, on the auction block with Max Steffes from the Steffes Group. Usually joins us the second Tuesday of every month. Due to a conflict, he's going to join us tomorrow, so that will work out very well. That'll be followed by a visit with Brad Tickson. Brad is the head of North Dakota's Farm Service Agency for the USDA division here in the state. So got a lot of things that we're going to be doing with him tomorrow. Also, over on our big deals auctions for our website. Okay, I looked at this, and this is pretty good, pretty sweet. If you have time in June to take a little family vacation, there's a 1-week stay at Coles Resort near Bemidji that is up for auction. And they have cabins, pools, fishing access. There's a ton of nice golf courses like Madden's and so forth over near Bemidji. And that value is $2,200, and it's well below that on the auction. And it's a 7-day stay. So I would get on the Big Deal site and take a little look at that.
That's not bad. Would be excellent. That's a whole week. Oof, that's not bad.
Whole week. Really, a lot of activities going on. Then the Rotary in the area is FM Rotary. It's the FM AM Rotary. They have a fundraiser going on. If you want to order ribs, let's say you've got graduation coming up and you want to add some things to your menu, you can go find them at rotaryribs.com and place the order for ribs as this charity fundraiser. In fact, tomorrow they will have ribs right there at the studio for a lot of us to be sampling. I have a lunch appointment. I'm going to have to save some room so I can get in on the ribs. Addison, you might want to make sure somebody can take your spot for like 10 minutes so you can get some ribs tomorrow too.
We can make it work.
or we can just bring him in. We can bring him in for you, but you're going to have, I mean, that might be a little messy with the controls and everything. So
you can run it in there on the tablet for a little bit.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
You know what? And because we have the how is Addison doing? Is Addison okay fan club? We might want to make sure that someone calls and checks on you in the meantime as well, Addison. Hopefully it's not terribly hot in your control room again today.
It's only 71 degrees in here. I'm living the fine life.
You might need a jacket.
My gosh, it's like it's actually wonderful. Another big announcement for tomorrow is that Brad Paisley is coming to the Shields Arena. We have the opportunity to give away 2 tickets tomorrow before they even go on sale. They are going to be hitting sale on Friday morning at 10 a.m. This will be at the Shields Arena. But we're lucky enough to have 2 tickets to give away, so pay very close attention during the show tomorrow. We will give a call out for you to go see Brad Paisley and Jake Worthington at the Shields Arena on September 2nd. So it's a busy week here. We have a lot of things shaking.
That's a good thing.
It is. We will have later in this hour our guest for today. That's Jason Hammerbeck. He is with Darter Plastics. They're the folks that sponsor Dean's Wednesday Weather Trivia. So we'll have some questions for Jason, hopefully some calls from the rest of you as well on that JLA Insurance phone line. And we'll get to all of that after we get to the livestock report from the American Ag Network. Don't forget to tune in on the first Monday of every month when we have the drainage difference. That's with Blake Sunday from Landmark Companies. And with Blake, we talk about all the things that are going on with precision drainage, water management, erosion control, and so forth that's happening here in the region, not just in the Red River Valley. So look forward to that. Again, that's the drainage difference with Landmark Company. We do that once again on Monday, or the first Monday of the month, right here on Weather and Ag in Focus. You know, when you go to buy birdseed, you never think that there could be something bad in it, right? Well, sort of. Palmer amaranth is a weed that we've been cautioned about making its way into North Dakota. We've been talking about it for practically 10 years. What's Palmer amaranth? It's part of the pigweed species family. It is a plant that under the right growing conditions, so think like the southern states, it can grow due to the heat and the moisture down there. It can grow about, I think it's 3 to 4 inches per day. It can get to heights of 12 feet tall. It'll have a 3-foot seed head that when it's mature can explode and share about 1 million different seeds out of the seed head. And it has a stalk diameter of 3 to 4 inches. So it's like a tree, it's like a sapling, right? And if you're running a combine in a soybean field and you run into that, it's going to stop you from being able to combine. It's going to clog up a lot of things. So Palmer amaranth has been a tremendous problem down in the southern states. What's been happening now is that we've seen a little bit of it move into the Dakotas. We saw that starting just a few years ago, but it hasn't been as big of a concern for us because we have watched it with the variable amount of crop rotation that we have and the differences in modes of action. We've been able to keep it fairly well under control. Washington State just realized they now have it. And part of the reason that they figured it out was a Washington State weed scientist was at the grocery store. And he came out and he saw a 3-foot tall Palmer amaranth staring him in the face. And he realized that on the ground all around it was other birdseed because a well-meaning shopper had broken open a birdseed bag and spread it so that the birds would enjoy it, but it's got noxious weed seeds in it. You know, great ideas sometimes go bad. That's how we got leafy spurge and purple loosestrife in the state. People thought they were beautiful ornamentals. They just got out of hand and kept going. And so now we see this spread, and it's almost a little bit like CSI for agriculture because they're trying to figure out how to keep the palmer out of the other rest of the birdseed that you want so it's not spreading into other places, especially into non-competitive crops where you would have a problem trying to control it. Palmer amaranth is a very adaptive plant, and so it can very quickly change so that it's not as resistant, so it's more resistant to other modes of action than what it was previously. So we're going to see more of these types of things being found, but yeah, currently birdseed's part of the problem. And if it wasn't bad enough that it's just in the seed, the migratory birds, and you've probably heard me mention this before, we have a plant like water hemp. It likes water. And so you have ducks and geese that are hanging around water's edge, and they're eating away on water hemp. They really like the seed heads. But the seeds pass through the animal, through the bird, without damaging the seed. And so they excrete those seeds in new places. In fact, it can be up to 1,800 miles. That's going from St. Louis to Seattle. So if you're wondering how I never had this weed problem before, it really can be happening with our migratory bird population too. They can carry barnyard grass and Palmer amaranth and water hemp, and even seed corn has wound up in some unique places because of the ducks and geese. I had a farmer send a picture this morning, and he wondered what it was. He had a corn stand that was emerged, except you could see where the plants were missing in the row for about 8 or 10 inches. And we're pretty sure it was just a goose that went through and pulled out the seed plant and was eating it. Pheasants really do it too. So
pesky birds.
Everybody's hungry.
Yeah, right.
I've seen acres get wiped out by a moose laying down and roll around.
Oh, jeez.
Right, like they knocks out plants because they're so aggressively rolling in the soil. So
wow.
Just when you thought it was only about making sure you have enough water and so forth, here we go.
You got to worry about the
There's
moose and the birds and
more
the geese.
Things. They're all out to get you at this point. You know, I've been getting a lot of headlines that have been, and I know we've mentioned this before, Dean, but a lot of headlines have been saying that, hey, we see this whole La Nina situation intensifying. It feels like it's more of just a talking point than it is something that's really coming to fruition for people. But as we see the drought monitor increase, I think they're going to continue to bring this up as a cause for our drought situation across the U.S.
It's not yet, not this season. We're in a La Nina going into El Nino, or just transitioning into El Nino now. So that's really not the big problem for the drought conditions. But the problem is if we get into strong El Nino conditions, which is expected as we head into late this year and into early next, that could have big implications on the winter. Typically, when you get these very strong El Nino patterns, you get a split flow that comes into the West Coast. And typically that'll carry one part of the jet through the southern U.S., so the desert Southwest, New Mexico, Texas, those areas get wet. And then the second part of the jet stream as it splits goes along the U.S.-Canadian border or through the northern plains here. Now that typically leads to a warmer than normal winter around our area and drier than normal as well. So we'll have to wait and see how strong this El Nino gets as we head into the summer and fall. Fingers crossed, it doesn't get as strong as it's forecasted to. But again, that's part of the atmospheric puzzle. Like we always talk about, the LRC is a central piece. But if we have a strong El Nino event coming up later this year and into the next year, that will pose a bigger problem, especially for the already stricken, the drought-stricken areas, because it typically will lead to drought conditions exactly where they're at right now. So that's the last thing we need.
I don't want what is happening out in northwest Montana, right? So when I saw that from
Right.
Welker Farms this morning, I've lived through that scenario before in the late 80s. That is very, very uncomfortable financially, agronomically. I mean, you as a farmer want to see your crop growing, but we would be okay if it was just a little drier in this neighborhood this summer.
Yeah, and we're still looking at precip pretty close to where we should be for this time of the year for our area. We have Terry on line one here with a weather question. Terry, go ahead.
Hey, Dean. It was more of a comment. It's kind of funny you were talking about that, the water temperatures, El Nino, or whatever, however it's pronounced. Because I've been watching on YouTube, and there's been a guy there that's got this map where he's got these humps over the years of, when we've had the unusually warm waters.
Right.
And his prediction is that he said we're going to be pretty close to the highest that we've had for but is there truth to that?
That's what the predictions have been. Now, I've seen these predictions before, and they always fall short of what some of the computer models are forecasting, how warm the ocean waters are going to be. But regardless, even if it's a record warmth El Nino, what they call a super El Nino, or if it's just a regular El Nino, it will have an impact on next fall, especially next winter and spring's weather as well. So that's something we'll be keeping a very close eye on. Now, it would bring to the drought-stricken areas of the Northwest and areas of Montana, it would bring those areas some beneficial rains, and typically to the desert Southwest and the far southern plains that are under drought conditions, those areas would be a little more relieved with rainfall. So we'll see how it pans out, but it could be one of the strongest El Ninos that we've seen.
Well, I guess we're going to know more in October, early November with the LRC, and just see how that pans out.
Exactly. Spot on, Terry.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the phone call, Terry.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of chatter on
Online.
all social media about this super El Nino, and let's just wait and see how it pans out. Because, like I said, I've seen these forecasts not pan out before, but regardless, we are going into an El Nino season as we head into later next year and early 2027. So that will play an impact on our winter weather regardless.
Well, we're going into a fishing season, and part of that fishing season is making sure you've got enough good bait. You want it in a quality container. You want them aerated because everybody likes to see really active minnows. We're going to find out how you can do that. Compliments of Darter Plastics, because they bring us a bait up every week for our weather trivia on Wednesdays. So stay tuned for more discussion with Jason Hammerbeck. A huge thank you to our sponsor today who's joining us. That's Jason Hammerbeck. He's with Darter Plastics. And Jason makes sure that we have the bait ups to be used for our Wednesday weather trivia every week. And they're fantastic. So, all right, Jason, first things first. A little bit of an uptick now that the Minnesota fishing opener is on and water is open for fishing. Are folks clamoring to get the bait ups from you?
Yes, they are. The water is open, but it's pretty cold. I was actually up in Bemidji last weekend for opener with my parents, and on the north end by the state park, there's still a couple patches of snow up there, so that was pretty surprising.
Oh.
Well, if you wanted to go to our website and bid on a package for Cole's Resort for like a whole week, you could go back and fish a ton.
When it's warmer.
Yes, it's coming. I just don't know when. I know today is better than the weekend. It was really windy and cold. So.
Okay, so you're a fisherman, Jason. Is that the impetus behind why you decided to make sure that these bait ups were available for people to start using because it's a better bait plan?
No, it was an existing product that we took on for our product line. We were mainly looking at, I think you guys know, we have the rain gauges, so we were looking to purchase that. And this was kind of a tag-along product that was available to purchase for us, so we bought them both. And as a fisherman, I really get behind the concept of the bait up and how it works and how you can keep your hands out of the water and all that stuff. So it's a really cool product. If you haven't seen them before, they're available in quite a few different large retailers now as well. We're trying to get them out across the land, I guess I would say.
And Jason,
okay, you said...
Oh, sorry, Bridgette.
Go ahead, Dean.
All right. I was saying, Jason, for those not familiar with the bait up, explain how it works and how it makes fishing so much easier. And you don't have to worry about getting your hands all messy, dipping it into the bait cup. Explain kind of how it works.
Yeah, basically just the nuts and bolts of it. It's a small cylinder. There are two different versions. There's a 20 ounce and a 35 ounce. So depending on the size or the minnows that you're using, it's a cylinder with two caps on both ends. One end has a stop and one end is open, and there's a floating basket that sits inside. So when you open the one cover, take the one cover off, the basket floats up, the minnows float out of the water. You can grab them, and then you put the cap back on. Invert it. There's a lanyard so it hangs from your neck or wherever you want to put it, which makes the basket float up the other direction in the cylinder, and the minnows are able to float throughout and swim throughout the whole cylinder. And then if you want to change the water out, depending on the size, the temperature, we recommend changing that at least every half hour or hour in the winter. But you can open the other end, dump out the water without losing the basket and the minnows, and just fill it up just like you're dunking a cup in water, basically.
Jason, you have ever so kindly supplied us with rain gauges that we've also given away on our Wednesday weather trivia. And I put mine back out. I'm sure more folks are thinking about doing it. But because that's also one of your very popular products, if folks forgot to take it back in this winter and maybe the center tube cracked in the cold or the caps because of moisture expansion, etc., can they get in touch with you about some replacement parts for those rain gauges?
Yes, they can. The easiest way is on our website, darterproducts.com. Otherwise, we also have phone number 763-261-5000, extension 1, and Roxy will get you set up to take any replacement parts, or if you're looking to order the bait ups as well. I know where you can get a rain gauge. I just don't know where you can get rain. We need it down here where I am by St. Cloud.
Yeah, and you're
not wrong.
Yeah, Jason, it's coming over the next 10 to 14 days. You guys will have it coming. So that's good news for you guys. We've got Kevin online too. I believe Kevin has a question for you, Jason. Kevin.
Hi, Jason. Yeah, I've got 2 rain gauges and 3 darters because the characters on the other end of the line are pretty patient with me with questions. Anyway, you're from the Benson area, I believe?
Nope. So the bait up and the rain gauge were originally produced up by Fergus Falls. Now they're at our company down in Becker. We were always molding the parts for them, but they were assembled and sold up in Fergus Falls. Now we do them right out of our factory here in Becker.
So Shoremaster Plastics up here? I was just curious.
Shoremaster used to be up there, or there was a company that molded some of their parts. I don't know who does that anymore, but we don't mold any Shoremaster parts any longer.
Okay. No, I was curious, but three of the bait ups went to the grandkids, and I'm keeping one rain gauge. I can't wait to get that up. Anyway.
Yeah.
All
The
right.
grandkids should enjoy them.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day. Yeah, see, they are popular.
Well, Jason, you said they're available in stores, but I'm not a fisherman, so I haven't exactly looked for them. Where are some areas that people could find those right off the shelf?
I know you can get them at Runnings and Shields. I'm not sure if they're yet in Cabela's or not. And then a lot of the small bait shops that you see, they get sold through Cannon Tackle and some other places. So they're in a lot of the mom and pop bait shops that you'll see throughout Minnesota and North Dakota.
And if you are a company and looking for something to give your customers, because we're all looking for the unique items, right? Better swag. You can do that. You can do custom orders and put people's logos on them and so forth, correct?
Correct. It's not been a big thing with the bait ups, but I would say at least a quarter of the rain gauges that we sell are probably promotional items where people we've had seed companies, banks, you name it, that want their name and give them at their company party or for giveaways to customers buying seed for the fields.
So what are some of the other items that you produce? Because folks might be curious what more shopping they can be doing with you.
Yes. So most of the parts we do are custom for large manufacturers. It's the part that goes inside, like an ice machine or four-wheeler or something like that. But for our own products, we also have a ice dipper for ice fishing. Hopefully, it'll be quite a while before you need that again. But we have that and some other bait products, like the old coin purse your grandpa used to have. At least mine that you squeeze. We have some wax worm containers like that. So,
I remember those. I know exactly what you're talking about. You
Yep.
squeeze them and they'd pop open with the coins in them. Yep, I know what you mean.
Yep.
That is fantastic. All right, Kevin, not Kevin, Jason, we already talked to Kevin. So very much
he does
appreciate
call a
the
lot, I
time.
guess.
He does. So where can people go to find more information from you as they may have an interest in visiting with you about a project?
So the easiest thing to do is go to www.darter, with a D as in dog, darter.com. On there, you can see what we do as a plastic manufacturer, and then it has a shop button, so you can click, and that'll go to where you'll find the rain gauges, bait ups, the little waxworm containers, and all that stuff. So that's the easiest way.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us for a little while today, and we appreciate the time that you have, Jason.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, when we come back, we'll have a recap on weather. The wind gusts have already now hit 50. Wind gusts of 50 outside right now. Thankfully, that'll change as we head into tomorrow. We'll have the full forecast, and Bridgette has some ag topics to touch on as well when we come back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday, May 12th. Temperatures outside in the low to mid 60s with winds gusting over 40. Now, I was taking a look, Bridgette, at the expected upcoming El Nino, and this is expected to be the strongest since 2015 and 16. So I took a look back at 2015-16 on the Drought Monitor Index. And there wasn't as much drought, but the main drought, oddly enough, hit in most of California in the desert Southwest. Although we did have drought conditions that year, 2015 and 16, across the entire state here. So, again, the El Nino is a big part of it, but the LRC will determine where these storms do go. I do believe we will have a warmer than normal winter if this El Nino does develop. That's a given, but the question is, what about the precip? And if we're going to compare it to the last strong El Nino event, it doesn't spell good news for our area coming up late this year into next year. So let's hope it's a little different this year or late this year when that does develop.
So it'd be different if we got a lot of moisture out of snow, but it's not that much.
No, yeah.
So,
and usually with those El Ninos, with the warmer than normal winter, we usually have a little less snow than anticipated as well.
So less snow. Hopefully we get more in the form of rainfall.
Right.
Because that would be much better and timely.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's warmer, then we better be careful out there for our ice fishermen and so forth, because that could be a little thin versus what we've had for solid ice the last couple of years. So it's a ways away yet. I mean, we're only in May.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll have to wait and see kind of how that does iron out. Again, it's not a given, but all of our long range models are predicting the equatorial Pacific where the El Nino does develop. That's expected to really intensify over the next few months. Now, over the next few days for our area, it does look like pretty windy weather. We got a couple of pretty strong wind events. One of them today with those northwest winds gusting over 40. We'll have highs today pretty close to the upper 60s before the day is said and done. Now, as we get towards sunset, the winds will start to die down, and we'll have light winds overnight as we drop off into the low to mid 40s. Now, tomorrow, one of those top 10 days. You just got to get out and enjoy it. We'll have plenty of sunshine, light winds out of the northwest, and temperatures in the upper 70s tomorrow. Just an ideal day tomorrow. Now, the winds start to pick up tomorrow night out of the south as the next storm system comes through southern Canada. And that will warm us up on Thursday to about 80. So a mild but windy. We'll have winds out of the south on Thursday, gusting up to or just a little bit over 40. And then Friday, almost like today, the winds whip back around to the west-northwest at about 25 to 40, and temperatures around 70. Now, as we head into Saturday, we'll see a break ahead of the next storm system. That storm system has a better chance for bringing us rain on Sunday into Monday. In fact, our latest models are printing out a little bit more rainfall over our area and areas east into Minnesota, and we're looking at an order a half inch to an inch Sunday into Monday. So hopefully we can get that, because if we have very many more windy days like this, with you're going to get a lot of blowing dust. You can get that blowing topsoil, and just not a good thing. So we need a little moisture to kind of settle things down for sure. And we have Judy on line one with a question. Judy, what's your question?
Hey, Mr. Wysocki, I got a question. Are you sure we can put away all our winter clothes now? And make sure you get rid of all those allergies. Oh, they're bad.
Oh, I know. Well, and the wind doesn't help. So I'll give you an answer. My significant other asked me, and I told her yes. So if I'm wrong, I'm in big trouble. So, yes, you could go ahead and put away all the winter gear. Now, I'd keep a sweatshirt out, because we're still going to see a couple of chilly mornings in the 40s, maybe even a few upper 30s. But in terms of frost or freeze, we should be done with that in the FM area.
Good. Thank you.
You bet, Judy. All right. Hope I'm right.
So farmers often have a crop consultant or an agronomist who checks their fields for them. Just spot checks. Usually you're using a four-wheeler. You're heading out across those acres. and you're taking a look at what you see for weed, insect or disease pressure, as well as the crop conditions, as well as you're going to be able to see what the moisture situation is in every field. Well, it's interesting to note that there's a company out there. I wish everybody had easier to pronounce names, at least for me. I mean, I can say things like clopyralid and picloram and they roll right off my tongue, but no, Solent, Tech, they have a little robot called Solix, and it works on an AI platform named Alice. And it actually is a little machine, and I'm sure at this point I should probably let Addison know what it is so he can go Google this little thing. And what it does is it constantly stays in the crop. So you drop this little guy off in the crop early on in the season, and he's out there 24 hours a day, runs on solar, and does all the spot checks, goes up and down the field. He can have a little sprayer installed on him so that if he sees weeds, he can just automatically spray them. You can put a refill station on the field so he can go back over to whatever chemistry mixture you're using, refill, and continue to spray. Sounds great, right? But the problem is this little sprayer, even though he's running 24/7, can really only be covering about 300 acres. And so far, there's only about 300 of these little robots that are currently in continual use. It's got an electric drive, so there's no onboard diesel, no fuel cost that goes with them. The soil compaction versus a tractor and a pull-type sprayer is much less, or even if you're looking at a full-size sprayer. It has a very high-resolution camera for the precision work. And then the software is called Alice. That's a decision engine that's behind the hardware, and it uses very ag-specific AI to pull in all the information that you might need. I'm sorry, I just noticed my power was very much blinking. That must be the wind, so who knows what happened there. This little robot, this Solex, costs about $50,000. So versus other robots, he's got a lower price point. There is a subscription fee to go along with them. If you're looking at using it on like 500 acres, you'd probably need a lot more of these little guys to go out there and get the work accomplished. But it was interesting to note that that's a decision some people are making because they are seeing far less availability for labor to run equipment in the field. So maybe you need a little robot who can go out there and do some weeding and so forth. On our live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities, Addison has brought this little guy up to see what he looks like. In a way, he sort of looks like a big coffee table with wheels at the bottom of his legs, and you can put a boom on it and you can move him up and down the field. I know that there's some other companies that are working with something similar. I saw a prototype similar to this from TerraClear when I was at Commodity Classic back in February. So we will see if there's more attraction to them and if we start to notice them more often throughout the region.
All right, well, that'll do it for today's edition of Weather and Ag in Focus, but don't go anywhere. The #1 show in the afternoon, the Jay Thomas Show, is coming up next.